Welcome to this week's edition of the Wellness Show with Angela and Safiya. Please note that whatever we say is not intended to diagnose, treat or cure. If you are in doubt, do consult a healthcare practitioner before applying any change to your lifestyle. Assalamu alaikum and
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Angela.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you very much. We are warming up a little bit in this studio compared to outside. I hope everyone is okay. Inshallah, bismillah. So today we thought it would be nice to start talking about a bit more into details, isn't it, on nutrition, which is really your passion, my passion, in a lot of ways. But what we've noticed, Angela, is that when we discuss nutrition with friends and the sort of things that we have read and maybe things that we have experienced, tried out, we realize that most people do not know actually a lot about nutrition, and it's not nobody's fault really. It's just because
it's somebody's fault. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. There's a lot of knowledge that hasn't been used. Like it's a known fact out there that when a research it takes 10 years to trickle down to advice.
Very interesting. 10 years.
10 years. And the other thing is, when we have problems with our health, we think of doctors, but when they're trained, their training does not include a lot of knowledge on nutrition, and they it's hardly anything. So they don't know a lot, and what they do know could be from what was known at the time of their training.
Yeah, I remember there's this very interesting guy called Professor Tim Spector. He's renowned for his knowledge on the gut, and our listeners can find this really easily on the internet. He has a lot of videos and interviews and things, and he said, yes, that the nutrition teaching is what amounts to a day or basically just a few hours in a medical doctor's 6 years of studying.
That's almost nothing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We can't blame them either. Mm-hmm. What it does point out, though, that people have to start becoming more aware of what they have to do, take some responsibility of what they follow, and it can't be just a case of, unless you want to. Have a problem, you go to the doctor, you get a prescription, and you go on with your life. That equates to, well, you're going to keep having this problem, you're just maintaining it. But now there's more and more people who are taking control of their health, and when I mean they take control, is that they're not ignoring the medicine. What they're doing is they're trying to find out how to reverse some of the effects of what's ailing them, because a lot of the diseases we have out there that are maintained are lifestyle diseases. And that tells you right there that you can change your lifestyle. If you change your lifestyle, you could have better results. And now there's a lot of contradicting information out there. And even as a nutritionist, I've had to face that, a lot of contradiction. You just have to keep plugging away. You have to find studies. But then even when you read studies, you have to see, so who paid for this study?
Yeah.
If it's a food company, then I would say it's a suspect findings, because
I think this is how this Professor Tim Spector was explaining the process, was that it's not that the scientists are lying or anything, but because they do their own research, and that's happened to him. They do their own research, they have certain findings, data, etc., but then it's what sort of conclusions are drawn from the results. Yes, and this is that's when the person, the company or the organization that's financed it will basically select the sort of findings.
Exactly. So we have who gives the money, who funds this project for this research, and then how it's interpreted. And of course, not everybody can do that. But we're going to have to keep trying, because our health is one of our most important assets. We know that as Muslims that we have to take care of our health. And nowadays, it's even more things are changing. It's in the air. Like where we used to hear, for example, fats are really bad for you. Now you're hearing little voices that, it's not as bad as we've been told. And what we've been told it's bad for you since the 70s. Mm. That's in scientific terms, that's like dinosaur years.
Yeah.
So let's take for example saturated fats, right? And since I was in my 20s, you're told saturated fat is bad for you. What's saturated fat? Oh, coconut oil, butter, eggs, dairy, red meat, all lead to heart attacks. That's what we were told. But is it true? Is it true? Because now we know, based on latest research, that it's not quite true. That's not true, right? In fact, when you go low fat, as we've been told, the lower fat you get eating in products, we've been, as a nation, in Canada, the United States, the UK, everywhere in the known world where they eat a Western diet, people are getting fatter. Mm. So what's going on? Mm. People are eating lower fat.
Mm. So you have mentioned the word now, fat, right? So let's dive into that a little bit. Explain to us, if you can, sort of in sort of simplish terms, exactly why are fats essential for us? Why they're one of the three essential?
Well, they're not really three essential. The most essential nutrients we need is fatty acids, if you want to talk like down to the basics, which comes from fat, and amino acids, which comes from protein. There's nothing in your body there's no essential carbohydrates that your body needs.
Right.
Your brain does need some glucose, but it's extracted. Your body makes it, like your liver makes it and gives it to your brain. So don't start with getting stressed. It's just how it is. Yes, you can get some vitamins from fruit, not from juices. For example, if you want to have the fiber from an apple, have the apple, not drink apple juice. Apple juice is the same to your body as drinking a glass of water with sugar in it.
Yeah.
That's how it sees it. Your body sees things biochemically. It doesn't see it the way you see it. You see it, oh, this is delicious. Your body sees it as a chemical. So it makes you more hungry, you see. It makes you more hungry. So if we want to talk about being healthier, first of all, for women, and I've gained weight, and I know better now, but by the time I knew better, the damage was done by following mainstream advice, eating low fat, going on calorie restricted diet. Did you guys know that a 1,200 calorie diet is how many calories a toddler needs to eat to not die? It's not for a woman. It's not for a mother. That we need to stop being on diets. Like, we need to and it's not easy. It's easy to say that, right? Because when you go on a diet, then you start eating low calorie things, but we have to start thinking a little bit differently. How about thinking, instead of reducing your calories and starving throughout and then being cranky and in a bad mood, we try to find a way to control our appetite. Not talking to go to the doctor and get meds now by what we eat from whole foods. And if you have weight to lose, you really need to cut back on carbohydrates.
Right. So now we've moved on to the second of the key words that we hear a lot is carbs, carbohydrates. So I'm sure now people have heard low carbs diets, keto diets, etc. But can you just sort of explain to us what carbs are? Do they have any role at all? And why have we sort of ended up eating so much of it?
Well, first of all, it's easier to prepare and it's more affordable, right? And
so, what are carbs then? Let's define this.
Well, let's look at carbs. Let's put them in two categories. One, from the vegetables, like when I mean the green leafy vegetables, and then the other carbs are the ones that come in packages from the factory. The cookies, the crackers, even the pasta, everything that's packaged.
So would that include rice?
It would include it, except there is, like, we'll talk about it in a different episode. There's some talk about resistant starch, which comes from rice and pasta and potatoes. But right now, that's included. It was well known before, as it is now. If you want to reduce your weight, you need to remove those from your diet or reduce them. I mean, another amazing fact that I can't believe is that your body does not actually have natural break to tell your body enough of this for carbs. So no wonder we overeat rice and pasta, and it's our favorite food. Just the smell of bread, you can eat it and eat it, and your body does not get a signal. Right? It kind of like stops this hunger. We get signals in our brain when we're full, right? And you don't get that signal gets blocked by carbs, those refined carbs that we're talking about, crisps and chips and potatoes. That's why we eat them like we can't fill up. Whereas, by the way, the same thing goes for alcohol. Now, we're Muslim, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be talking about this, because
definitely,
right?
And we might have people who are not Muslim listening to us.
Alcohol and carbs do not let your body hear the signal of enough, right? But when it comes to protein, like meat, and fats, your body has they don't block that signal, so you get that signal clear. Stop, that's enough, you had enough. So if we were gonna eat a steak, you cannot overeat it, like you'll stop. The only reason we overeat maybe it'd be if we include a lot of refined carbs with a meal, and that opens your appetite. Like, when you go to a restaurant,
it masks it, doesn't it? Masks the effects of it.
Because when you go to a restaurant, the first thing they give you is a basket of bread. Or did they used to?
Sometimes they do, yes.
And they give you that opens your appetite. That's like, so then you start eating more and more, because your mind, your brain cannot, you're not hearing that signal of stop. Whereas if you were just to have a green salad with, your steak or whatever, like eggs or something, that does not include
and olives,
you will get that signal. You will hear, and you'll be able to stop. So we need to start eating more towards to eat foods, using foods to control our appetite. Some people say they don't want to. Okay, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You need to worry about what you eat if you care about your health. I know there's a mindset out there that food has nothing to do with health, and they'll eat whatever, and then I've even heard of some people who are diabetic. They'll, like my dad was, and I would tell the doctor, well, why don't you tell my dad to modify his diet? And his only thing he could say was, well, people his age or people like him, they don't want to change. Okay, true, but shouldn't you at least provide the information? I mean, I don't know how it is nowadays. My dad's passed away 10 years ago, but we have a responsibility, and maybe the doctor doesn't know better. Maybe he does. I don't know, but it looks like you need to take responsibility, or people in your circle of influence. We need to care what we eat, because food, like I explained to my sons, right? Your body's like a Ferrari. If you had a Ferrari, what kind of fuel would you put in there? Would you just go and get whatever? You'd have the top fuel for your car.
The top oil.
Your body is more than a Ferrari. It's amazing. It's more than a machine, and you need to give it good quality ingredients, because what you eat makes up your cells, right? And your cells are the basis of your health. If you have strong cells, you can resist a lot of disease. So we have to go back, I guess, down to what makes good, healthy cells, right? And the fact is, 50% of your cells is made from fat. Now, what fat you eat will affect the health of your cells. It's as simple as that. So we need to stop being scared of fat and start including it in a diet in a healthy way, in order to get our health. I mean, as women, fat in fact is the precursor to our hormones. So being on a low-fat diet it's a horrible thing for us. It affects us in so many ways.
Yeah, I really do connect a lot with a lot of what you've said. I remember when I was young, I would come back from work, from school. I was like something, maybe 13, 14. So growth spurts, etc. And I would say we have long hours in school in France, so we have lunch break, etc. But at 4 or 5, I'd be ravenous and we'd have to wait until probably 7:30 to have dinner. That's the way it was. So we had always like a little snack at 4 or 5. And I would say, oh, I'm so hungry. I just want I wanted like something like a salad. But I remember really wanting something like cheese, something like really fatty. And I was in the 80s. And my mom would say, no, don't have that. It'll stop your appetite, but have an apple. And I remember having an apple and it would create a bigger hole in my stomach.
Makes you ravenous.
And now I've realized that I don't do that. When I really feel peckish and I have a handful of nuts, not salted ones, just a raw normal, or a piece of cheese or something, and I only need a little bit of a nibble and it stops completely that noise in my head. It's quite magical, actually. Yeah.
It's quite interesting after all these decades of being told the fat is bad for you and all that, and now to take this and that for artificial ways of controlling your appetite, and or telling you that, oh, it's your fault, you don't have enough self-control, and now you find out it's nothing to do with self-control. Your body is a very, like, if it wants you to eat, it's gonna make you eat. You cannot resist your body. Yeah. That's why when people go on these low-calorie diets and they can follow it for a certain amount of time and they lose weight, right? So we also have to talk about, by the way, about this calorie in and out theory, right? But it makes you lose weight, but body can only take so long, and then next thing you know, you're off the diet and you're eating and eating. Not only you gain back the weight you lost, but also the more weight. And people have been blamed for it in scientific circles, that they have no self control, and that's the main reason. It has nothing to do with self-control. It's your body's way of making sure you eat enough. The problem is what we're eating that's causing weight gain.
Yeah.
Right? And dieting reduces your metabolism. So what that means is it slows down how many calories you need, because it's trying to preserve itself, right? And then after, so it gets like, let me use a number. Say you went on a 1,200 calorie diet and your body gets used to that, right? So now your metabolism will burn at 1,200 calories. And then you, obviously, naturally, your body's going to force you out of that, and you're going to start eating even 1,500 calories. But obviously, we know it's going to be more. Then that extra, because your body's burning at 1,200, that 300 extra calories you're now eating is going to be stored as fat. It won't be able to burn it because you've lowered it.
So it's because of that process of the body trying to preserve itself in case there's another period of famine, because it considers that lower calorie period as a period of famine, and i.e. danger. And this is why, for instance, I remember when I didn't have children and I wanted to just kind of lose a bit of weight, whatever. And one of the things was, do not go on a diet, because obviously in the 90s, 2000, it was still about that lowering calories. It's like, do not go on a diet if you're trying to conceive. Obviously, because if you are lower calories, diet is for the body a period of famine, it's worrying. Therefore, anything that is not absolutely essential for the preservation of the existing living body will be shut down, because it's not urgent right now to have children. If you can't even feed yourself, how can you feed another being inside you?
It makes total sense. It's our bodies are amazing. We just fail to understand. We treat it like it's like a regular machine. Like, it's more complicated than that. And it's not. If you want to, so somebody mentioned this. Okay, does that mean then, if you're saying don't go on a diet, does that mean I can keep on eating fish and chips or takeaways? No, it doesn't mean that, because you remember, what you eat matters. So you have to eat. So, but what you eat also affects you. So it's not just the one thing. It's different facets to this. And what you eat, if you don't eat the nutrients your body needs, your body then keeps saying to you, you're still hungry, so you have to keep eating. to get the nutrients. And then when the food that you give it that it's not able to use, it stores as fat also. And you could see people in this world, like, we're overweight. This country is full of overweight people, and you think, oh, this nation has so much food, that's why they're so overweight. Well, actually, it's because they're eating so much. It shows that they're not in a good nutrients, that they're not getting enough nutrients. They're eating a lot of junk food, and therefore their body can't use it, so stores it, puts it away until you give it what it needs.
For instance, I mean, there have been a lot of studies in the past, recently actually, showing that areas in the world where they used to have virtually no obesity, they had only very slim, slender, active, with very low body, low body mass index, and basically they have a good amount of muscles, etc., no cholesterol. In Asia, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and over the last 20 years, that has completely changed. Why? Because they've introduced the junk Western diet. Not because we have to say that the way of eating in the West traditionally is very good, and it's designed for the weather we have. So in the winter, for instance, in this country and in France, and especially northern part of France, you'd have in the winter more kind of root vegetables,
fish,
and things, and preserves, the things that you have from the summer. And in the summer, conversely, you would have lighter foods and salads and green stuff, etc., that fresh from the ground, with a bit of meat, etc. So, it's we should not completely discount
we're talking about the Western diet that comes from the factories.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. And the modern way, where basically it's a lot of processed food, a lot of white, beige colored foods, pre-packed, and even if it's not pre-packed, it's doesn't contain enough fruits and vegetables, mainly green vegetables.
Also, it's affected the way they do business now. It's affected even farms. The soil that should give us like magnesium does not give us magnesium. There's a lot of nutrients that the soil has been overworked, and it's not giving us what we need that we would traditionally get.
Yeah, so potatoes, for instance, from the 50s to now, has lost, I think it was something crazy, like 75%, 80% of its actual mineral content. So, because of the intensive farming methods, the pesticides, and the fact that there's no rotation of the crop, so the soil gets tired, but there's no pests. Well, we call them pests. There's no insects in the soil anymore to give life and minerals and turn the soil. Like the way worms go into the soil to create all of this air and turn the soil underneath over. The natural process of things doesn't really take place much anymore. So there's we are faced with a lot of challenges.
We are definitely, but for sure, if I was to give any advice, would be don't go on a diet, but care what you eat. So one of the things that I'll say, two things I recommend is eat healthy fats. What is healthy fats? Saturated fats. Yes, it's saturated fats, and monounsaturated fat, which is olive oil. So I'll give you an example of a monounsaturated fat is avocado oil, olive oil. But because olive oil is good to use when in a salad, for example, not to cook with it, because any oil that it's in liquid form has a low smoking point. That means it could burn easily, and then it becomes oxidized, which means it's really bad for you. Like it's cancerous. Okay, whereas saturated fats, the fats that are saturated are the ones that if you leave them out on the table, they are solid. Okay, so now there's two types of solid. The ones that are naturally, like coconut oil, is a solid, right? And then there's margarine. Stay away from margarine. Like margarine is made in the lab. It's one molecule away from plastic. Your body doesn't. It takes a lot of effort to remove it from your body. It's horrible. And remember, our fat that we eat makes our cells. So you do it, but at your own peril. We need to have healthy cells. You need to eat healthy fats. So olive oils, butter, yes, butter. Cook with ghee if you're cooking a curry, or like any food in the pot, use coconut oil. Coconut oil is really good in Asian cuisines, in East Asian, in Thai food. Olive oil, you can use it on top of your salads and your steamed vegetables. So those are the best things to have for your health. In a minute though, we're gonna have a break, so we'll come back to touch up a bit more, and then we're also going to talk about something very interesting.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're back on after a lovely little break. I hope you enjoyed that one. So you were just finishing on basically what sort of advice you'd give someone to who's listened to you and say, okay, I get that thing about carbs and about changing. Okay, it's not a diet. I understand. I have to kind of see it as more a way of eating, a new way of life, and something that is sustainable in the long term. So, what sort of things would you say? Should they go cold turkey, or to say that's it? I'm just going to forever stop having all of this starchy foods, or what should they do really? Because
it depends. I'm not gonna. It depends what you want to do, right? If you don't have weight issues and you don't have any lifestyle diseases yet, and and you want to improve what you're eating, then it's easier to do that than to fix the problem. When you're overweight, it's a problem. Then you have to do other things. But let's say you're normal weight. You don't have it. You're not pre-diabetic. You don't have anything to do with heart problems. Okay, so the best thing to do that I advise is two things. Number one, do not use, absolutely kick out of your kitchen all seed oils, all of them. Seed oils like soy, cotton, canola, anything that's labeled vegetable oil, they do not belong in a kitchen, and not in a healthy kitchen. Okay, they're for using them for frying is even worse, because their smoking point is very low, and if you cook, as a lot of mothers do, when you're frying things, it changes color quickly, and literally that's it's oxidized. You should not be having this.
So that would be kind of an easy sort of first step to,
if you want to fry. So I get this question: what should I do if I want to fry? The best is saturated fats. Now, let me break it. In the past, they used to use, in this country anyways, they used to use bacon fat and all that, but we're Muslim, so we're not going to use that.
Duck fat as well, there is.
If you can find halal tallow, tallow comes from lamb or beef.
You can make your own ghee, just with butter. It's very easy.
You can use ghee.
I use organic grass-fed.
Lots of curries with beautiful ghee, because ghee, make sure though, there are tricky sellers out there. They have two types of ghee made from dairy, and then there's ghee made from vegetable oil. So that means it's like another version of a margarine.
So we're talking about good quality ghee. Good
quality ghee. You use it for your curries. You use ghee. It's a fat, right?
Do you know,
it brings out the vitamins from your vegetables, and the spices, because Indian spices and vegetables are meant to be good for you. All of a sudden, they have a bad reputation that it's not good for you. No, it's not the food or the spices that is bad for you. It's the fat, the seed oils that are causing the stomach problems and other problems that we have. It's not the Indian food is one of the healthiest cuisines in the world.
Yes, and I know a lot of my Asian friends, when I tell them, ghee is really good, it's like, oh my God, I've been told for so many decades I should really avoid it.
No, you shouldn't. That's the best. That's what Indian cooking goes best with, and it brings out all the good qualities of your spices, especially if you use nice spices. The other thing you could use is coconut oil. That's also used in Indian cuisine.
Do you know, also just a little addition about how to absorb the nutrients better from your food. If you put black pepper allows your body, helps your body to absorb the nutrient from your food. And that's
chili
amazing.
It has so many benefits. Now, obviously, people overdo it. For me, depends, right? but there's benefits to these spices.
Definitely, capsicum.
You know, it's part of the Ayurveda and Unani medicine and all kinds of things. And
turmeric, curcumin, I mean, all of these.
And then how come they have a bad reputation? It's not the food; it's how you cook it, right? So we have coconut oil, we got ghee, we got butter. Yes, butter, high quality butter. What you should remove. Do not go near like 99 cents margarine sitting in the sun. Oh my God, that is disgusting. I don't know how they get away with selling this stuff to us. Stay away from it. Do not touch it.
Right, so that's the fats. So now, just very briefly, about carbs, what can we do?
Well,
so again, let's talk about someone who has some health issues and does need to, because to be fair, most of us are in that situation where we've let on pile on the pounds. We've had several children, maybe, or again, as you said, maybe bad diet, bad information or habit. And then we realize, okay, cholesterol's going up, maybe, or there's issues with being pre-diabetic. So what would you say they should do then? Should they just go cold turkey overnight? That's it. No more rice, bread. How does that work?
Well, you need to prepare yourself. You cannot go cold turkey without being prepared. You have to be prepared what you're going to use instead, and slowly break it in, because part of the problem is our habits. Habits, you can, go against them so often, but habits are there because they want to make your life easier, and your body resists change. So you need to read more about it, and need to do mini habits, like build them up slowly. Like, for example, rice is a major staple. Like, it's taken forever for me to find alternatives, and they'll never find something that's gonna be like rice, because rice just hits the spot.
For me, rice seriously is like chocolate.
Right.
If I see a steaming pan of freshly cooked basmati rice, I stand by the sink and I eat it with a spoon and a bit of salt on it. I cannot resist. I shouldn't say I can't, because it's not a word I like to use, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's really
a hormonal
addictive.
response. It's a hormonal response. It's your body's making you eat it. You have to have it. So what can you do? We have to change our habits. We have to reduce sugar, find alternatives. So what I use, I'll tell you what I use. I use erythritol, and erythritol is it's very sweet, but it's not artificial. So it's safe to use. And then there's xylitol. Rice, I'll make cauliflower and mash it up and put my curry on top.
So cauliflower rice.
Cauliflower rice, or just cauliflower and just mash it. You can make it into mashed potatoes. Don't even trick yourself. Like, this is something good for you. This is better for you. If you're pre-diabetic, you need to reduce your refined carbs.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that if I don't have rice and I focus more on the good vegetables and some good protein, whatever, whether it's vegetarian or meaty, I find that I am satiated, I don't crave any food. But if I have a lot of rice, sometimes even my background is also half Italian, when we have a risotto as a main dish, in Italy they have like that as a first dish, but in France generally we've ended up having this as a main dish. I'm hungry an hour later, and I can see it in my children. We're hungry, so it really goes through and makes you want more food very quickly afterwards. So you end up eating a double meal. Well,
knowing that the carbs don't allow the signal of satiation to come through, you need to measure it out. That's one thing to do as a first measure, until you can, if you want to have better results, you do have to cut it out for a while. But let's just start with easy steps. You have to take out the measuring cup and start measuring your carbs, your pasta, your rice, your bread. If you have problems like diabetes, you need to become more aggressive with what you remove from your diet. The more problems you have, the more you have to apply these solutions. It doesn't help to tell people, you have to have a balanced diet. What's a balanced diet for a diabetic is a different balanced diet for a healthy-bodied person, right? So you can't just throw that word around, balanced diet. For balanced diet, depends on who you're talking to.
So it's just such a fascinating discussion, Angela, and I hope that people
so
who
many
listen.
things to unpack.
So this is why we're doing this show, isn't it? Because we know there's so much, so many things we want to convey, and we hope that it's not becoming too technical. But sometimes, even if you didn't grasp it the first time around, you've heard it. So it is somewhere in the back of your mind, and you will see unconsciously, you'll start thinking about things a bit differently, and you might even want to research and read a bit about it. There's loads of books now, mainstream
and
books,
videos.
videos, YouTube that explain this a lot more. We see this much more in on the media, mainstream media, where maybe 10 years ago it wasn't really. Especially about sugar. Sugar is now in its right place.
Yeah, I'm noticing a lot
substance.
of ground changing things, and anything that changes in the world, it never changes from the people that are in authority or the gatekeepers. It changes from people on the ground. People,
they want change.
They want change. They're looking for things. They're searching. They experiment themselves.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's fascinating. So we'll have loads and loads in the next few weeks coming up on. We'll just try and wrap all.
Are we going to have another show before the new year?
There will be another show next week. Yes, we are on every week. Okay. Good question. So
then we're going to talk about now we're going to talk a little bit about resolutions. Yes, New Year's resolutions. We're Muslim and we don't celebrate New Year's. We are using it as a starting point, right? Because people stop work and school and then we start again.
We can't avoid, this is the calendar we follow. So everybody around us talk about this, don't they?
And it's really good to have like a starting point. And you know how people start their diets, which we said, do not start diets, but let's say resolutions, new things, new improvements in our life, new mini habits and all kinds of stuff. It's good to have a starting point. And what's better than the new year?
Yeah, and what I found about the New Year's resolution, I was trying to understand where it was coming from. Okay, we could say it's because it's a new date of the new year and people like to have like some particular date they start new things on. But apparently there is also a biological aspect to it, which is because of all the excesses of the Christmas dinners and the sweets and eating too much. I mean, so I remember in my childhood, everybody is just like, especially in France, we stay at the table for about 3-4 hours.
It's not only France.
A standard meal in France is about 2 hours. So imagine Christmas. So, you can see as well people walking out here, on the 25th, trying to digest their heavy turkey dinner. And so basically the body seems to be craving a moment of fasting afterwards, of lighter dinners, and so there seems to be this biological process where naturally after those excesses the body just says, no, let's get on to something. I need salad, so it seems to be that we're spurred on at that moment. So I thought that was quite interesting, that it's not just us deciding, but it's our body pushing us for that. And one of the main issues with making a resolution, especially a New Year's resolution, is like, by the end of next year, so that's 12 months, 365 days, I want to be lighter by, 10 kilos. All right? So you're like, all right, okay, so that's your aim. But there's no structure to how you even want to reach this. But even the first question would be, is 12 months a bit too long as a goal? Is 10 kilos a little bit too much? 10 kilos is like 20 pounds. Is that a bit too much maybe at this point? How do you define your goal is really, really important. And it's the key. The key to making your aim successful. So there's some people might be familiar to this idea of a SMART goal, which has to be specific.
That idea works in all areas.
Yeah. It has to be manageable. you always have to reevaluate what you've decided. It has to be attainable. Is it reasonable? As I said, is maybe 12 months, 10 kilos too much? Or maybe it's not. But, is it really what you can do? Is it relevant? So to yourself, your values, your lifestyle, your general objectives. So say you're like I'm sorry, I'm talking in meters and kilos, right?
I prefer that.
No choice with me. You just have to go and get the converter to understand. But if you're 170 and you weigh 60 kilos, is it really reasonable for you to lose 10 kilos? No, it's not, because you'd be underweight. So you also have to, what is your goal? Is it really something relevant to you? And also it should be time-based, so have an end date. So again, I was talking about 12 months ahead. Is that really the right date? And why did you choose that date particularly? So that's some of the reasons we fail, is because we just haven't really sat down to think about it in reasonable terms. And we're bombarded with temptations of, I want to be so slim.
Maybe we also we make too many goals.
Or I want to hit the gym, I want to go. It's the 31st of December and I've never been to the gym, or maybe once a week. By the 3rd, when things open again, I will go every day for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
It's well known that
not going to
every
work.
year the gym memberships in January skyrocket, and then by March
it's gone.
People they're still paying for it, but they don't go.
So remember, about having a goal is to create a new habit, and again that can be applicable
that you can incorporate it into your life.
Yeah, exactly, and you can. It's sustainable,
and you can keep it up. So I think a lot of the time we make these lofty goals. It's nice, but more importantly, I think it's better to get to those goals. You need to break them down. So
we'd have an example now. Say about exercise and then nutrition. So exercise would be, I've never done any exercise. I've never been on a regular class. So let's say I'm going to sign up for one class, 45 minutes once a week, in the from the 4th of January, something like that.
Okay.
And I will do that for 4 weeks, not for a year, or for 6 months. I'll do that for 4 weeks, say for a month. By February, I'll reevaluate. So that's the crucial thing, is where am I at? Have I managed to do my one? Yeah, okay, I've managed to do that. Actually, I missed maybe one. That can happen. Life is, in the way. And I maybe did a little bit in my bedroom because I missed that one. I did a few stretching or whatever it is that you've decided to do. And then for February, I'm going to see if I can add a second one, or maybe half an hour, or maybe half an hour of my own practice in my own bedroom in the morning. As I said, a bit of some of the exercise. Say it's Pilates, because that's what I know. You just do a few exercises by yourself.
So that's bringing it to manageable.
So exactly. And then you just keep on, and you reward yourself, you praise yourself, you encourage yourself. But most importantly, before you even start doing this, you tell key people in your family, this is what
accountability.
Exactly. And this is one of the things that makes it successful, is if you're accountable to others. You've not hidden it. So that means if you don't do it, no one will know. You have to have a good friend next to you to say, hey, Safiya.
I've had my kids tell me, Mom,
you were supposed to.
Why are you having Pepsi Max? I thought, it's not healthy for you. I go, okay, I never have any fizzy drinks with regular sugar.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will have Pepsi Max. It's not the best.
No.
But because it doesn't affect my blood sugar, I'll have it.
It's a little treat.
Because I've announced it to everyone.
Yeah. It's
my
good.
kids will come and actually say, can you go buy me a bottle of this today? I feel like having a little bit. Oh, Mom, didn't you say it's not good for you? No, I don't think I should do that.
Yeah, and exactly. And they're the same. They were, if someone sees me on the sofa, it's like, aren't you supposed to be at your class soon or whatever? And they're like, oh, yeah.
It can't be annoying though when others remind you.
Yeah,
you have to tell yourself, don't get annoyed.
You've got to give that, because you've given them the authority to do that. That's important. You've told them, please help me to be accountable. Remind me. Or if you see me that I'm just give me a little nudge. But don't go and make them feel guilty. Oh, you're so bad. Look at that. You can never keep up. No, don't go down that route. So that's the one thing, accountability. And the second thing that to make it successful, and we forget to do, is give back to others once you've done it. That idea of that
what do you mean?
So basically, you've achieved your goal. You are now going to your 1 class a week or 2 classes a week by March regularly. You feel better. You feel more toned. You, in your case, it would be, you would say, you'd encourage someone to change the oil that they use or reduce the amount of. I was like, yes, well done. You've encouraged, you go and encourage then others to say, look, this is what I've done. I feel so much better. I'm not craving things. You pass on the information. You pass on the experience, the benefits, to encourage someone else. After that, if they want to go on, you do it. But
you will pass it on.
You will have. It happens to me all the time. You will have people coming back to you and said, "Hey, you know what? Remember that time you told me this? I've actually started doing it, and it really, really helps." Angela, this has happened between us many times, hasn't it? When I resist things, and I'm like, no, I don't like your advice, and I go away and I pretend I forgot about it, and then I come back to you and I said, Angela, you know that thing you told me?
What did I say? What I forgot? Pass it on and leave. And there's a Greek saying about it. I cannot translate right now.
Right.
About you give something, you do the good thing, and then you throw it in the ocean, like you forget about it, basically.
But basically, it does come back to you. So these are really important aspects that will help you to succeed. So again, we can make resolutions any time in the world. It doesn't have to be in the year. I mean, it doesn't have to be on the 1st, and especially if you don't want to do what everybody else does around you, and you feel like you don't want to be connected with the new year. But it's one of those specific moments. But as I said, it's connected with biology.
And have a starting point in mind, and then work on it slowly. You need to know that we cannot make any changes because of our habits. We have to change our habit. Change our habits, we have to take small steps towards the new habit, instead of saying, "Oh, get rid of the old habit." That's like, it's your habits make, like your hormones, they make you do things. They're already embedded in you. So in order to change it, you have to give it something else, or make it harder to do that. So make it easy to do what you want, the new habit you want to add, and make what you're doing already harder. We could talk at length about this even in another episode. More
definitely
about habits.
Definitely habits, mindset, how to establish good habits. There was a couple of other things I wanted to mention, which is on that idea of creating a habit, is that you have to focus on what you have control over. So what sort of example could I give you? It's you have control over your own behavior, your own thoughts, your own knowledge of yourself, and your own how you see yourself. So, for instance, don't really focus so much on the goal, like by the end of the year I want to be 10 kilos lighter, or I want to climb Mount Everest, right? You focus on your own behavior that will eventually lead you to that goal. So, for instance, you want to go back to losing weight. You might think, I hate restrictions. I hate not being able to eat what I want. I hate, okay, no, change it into something positive. I am eating what's healthy for me. Naturally, then you will be drawn towards things that are healthier. Then naturally, you will then end up obviously restricting yourself, as in there are things you will not eat, but you will end up not wanting to eat them just like that, because they're not part of your general ethics anymore, your general values, your general objectives.
Like now, for example, I used to have margarine, I used to have vegetable oils, I used to have cornflakes and all kinds of stuff. Now you couldn't pay me to have it. And that's where you need to change the way you see something that you want to change. You need to see where you want to go, and eventually you learn why you want to do it and why it's better for you, and then keep doing it, and then eventually what the bad habit you had before, it's just gonna like that's me and sugar. One day we already talked about sugar last week, I think.
We mentioned,
and how I used to take 5 teaspoons of sugar in my tea, and now it's like I cannot have it. Even the milk in the tea makes me like, ooh, it's
really interesting.
It's about training and changing.
Yeah, exactly. And you create a positive habit and a positive behavior that your body craves. And then your body is your best friend, because it will want you to continue what's good for it. And when you do things that are actually ultimately detrimental to it, it will feed back straight away. So like, you know, if I have, say, a lot of sweets and cakes, maybe it's something one day when it's just like, I'm just going to I just don't want to resist this time. It's in front of me on the table and I will have it. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel just so drained, so tired, I just want to sleep. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's your feedback straight away. You wanted to please your mouth, there you go. Your body's telling you, big slap across the face. Now you just want to lie down, and you're an hour of your day is gone because you just can't do anything, because you're complete
food affects us, and that's the truth.
So there's another thing as well, which is about you have control over your habits. So for instance, if you say, oh, I really can't have meat without rice or bread or whatever it is, okay, you can turn this into, I am free to decide what I want to eat and what I don't want to eat.
And
it's
don't
my
say you can't have it. It's just says, oh, I'm choosing today not to have it.
I'm choosing,
yeah,
exactly.
Because we need to feel empowered and not
exactly.
always say no. Yeah. Don't say no. Just leave it, defer it for another time.
Turn it into a positive, and it works for children magically as well. And it's like a child, you tell them, don't run. Obviously, they're going to want to run. Don't touch, they will want to touch it. The opposite way is just to say, just walk calmly, please, or let's move away, let's go over there, or let's have a look at this. You basically move away from the temptation. And the last thing, we absolutely have to change the way we see ourselves and think about ourselves, and to tell ourselves constantly, I'm weak, this is not
that's
helpful.
part of our identity, and we will talk more about it again. It's a big topic, but if you see yourself as weak, you are going to be weak.
Yeah. So it's best to say, very simply,
I can do it. I can do it. You don't know how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, by saying I can do it, it's a little dua. It's, I can do it. And then you don't know how it will happen, but you keep walking towards what you want. And then, inshallah, it will happen.
And then, if you climb, even if you walk on a path in the mountains or there will be a moment where you trip over, like you just wobble a bit on a loose stone, or you might take I have to go left here, and oh no, it was wrong, I'll just retreat. And there will be a moment, obviously, where you're like, oh, I'll have this, but then own it. Just like, okay, well, I had that big piece of chocolate cake, and I would prefer not to have had, it would have been better if I didn't have it, but ultimately it's okay. It's not the end of the world. The general idea is, to finish off now today, is if you do 80% of the time what you set out to do, and 20% of the time you don't, then that's it. You're on the right tracks. You're on the right tracks to developing good habits.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
So inshallah, we'll see you next week. Well, one thing is, if you have any questions or anything you want us to address, I would love it if you, and Safiya too, would love it if you send us a WhatsApp message to Heritage Radio, and we'd love to address any issues regarding wellness, or like maybe you have questions about what we said. Any feedback would be really nice, so we'd appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good week. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Inshallah, next week we are thinking of talking about cycling, and so we try to alternate between sort of nutrition and
we're going to have someone come in to talk to us about it, right? To encourage us. I need encouraging on that.
Inshallah, we will.
I have so many questions for our guest.
And then we will see if we might be able to talk a little bit more about nutrition then, or maybe anyway throughout the year we will be going back and forth between different subjects that are related to everything that we are interested in. So we really do hope we will hear you very, very soon again. And you take care, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.